Yeah, hello, viewers. Welcome to KDL TV live show tonight, coming live from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today, we're going to focus on another interesting topic that we promised to bring you live tonight, and that's about the presidential elections coming up for Mwanyagetinge organization here in Minnesota. So, honor to have today on set is aspirant Huldah Momanyi Hintsley, who is also one of the four candidates running for that position of presidency. So before we start, it's important to underscore why this is very important. Mwanyagetinge, as we all know, is the emperor of the major group of Kenyans here in the US, particularly North America. And therefore, once we get to this point of the elections, it's really very important that we really focus on the issues that affect us and a way we have to go forward as a people. So to you viewers, we welcome your time and your viewership here. And to you, Huldah, it's good to have you on the show.
Doctor.
Okay, so Huldah, again, to you now, as you understand, what we're doing here is really major. We have a massive opportunity here to turn around the organization, not just for you as a candidate, but for the entire advocacy and the Kenyan community here in North America. Obviously, there are those ones who've done a great job building the organization to where it is today, and whoever takes over you or another candidate, we really are going to look up to you to drive this organization to the future. So obviously, we want to try to focus discussion entirely on substance, obviously, and that's important, particularly for somebody who's going to be at the helm of the organization. But first off, before we get into the niche details of the discussion today, may I ask you, did you have a chance to watch the discussion last week with the youngsters? If so, what was your takeaway?
I did have a chance to watch that wonderful and very articulate and well done discussion, Dr. Okari, that you had last week with basically the next generation of Mwanyagetinge. You know, Joelle, as we all know, she's our champion at the University of Minnesota, and then we have Ian, at the Mayo Clinic, and then we have Bivan, I believe. She's in Waco, Texas at Baylor University. And these are young people who are doing amazing things that some of us, are sitting here going, wow, it made me proud to sit there and listen to these young people and go, oh my goodness, our future is actually bright. We just have to put the base and basically the frame for them to build on. And that's exactly why I'm running.
Excellent, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch the youngsters, and quite frankly, I agree with you. They really shocked me. Moderating the discussion itself made me feel we as a community have a very bright future, particularly if we have those at the helm. So don't worry, we understand the young one is trying to cheer up mom, so we understand if the young one does that, just be okay with it. We have kids at home, so please don't feel nervous about it. Okay, so let's begin with the first obvious question, Huldah. Perhaps everybody watching is asking, why are you running?
That is the most important question. As a voter, I would like to know, why should I be voting for somebody who is running? So I want to tell the people who are watching right now, especially Mwanyagetinge community in Minnesota, whatever you are, I am running because I know that Mwanyagetinge needs a rebirth from the top down. This means that we need somebody who's going to come in there and put the structures that is needed to get Mwanyagetinge to the next level. And I believe I am the catalyst for this change and to make this happen. It is also time to just put our differences, our very small differences aside, and really concentrate and come together as a community and build a future that really speaks about who we are. And that is, we are Mwanyagetinge Obomo. And then lastly, I'm running to unite the old, the youth, the community, the business community, our business, small business community, together under one umbrella. And I strongly believe that, when we come together as a community and we support each other, we grow and we succeed together. And I remember my story it's quite interesting. And everybody who knows my family knows about my story and how we came to the US. And I remember I came here when I was 9 years old. So the fact that I'm still passionate about our people shows my true love and passion for our people and for me to be serving. And I remember back when I first came here back in early 1990s, I don't know, maybe some of you know that we all got together. We went to the airport when somebody came and we, celebrated that somebody else else came here to the United States. And I remember my dad telling me, who actually was one of the founders of Mwanyagetinge. He told me that back then, the unity that they had was unmovable, meaning that he even gave a full check to the community because 3 people of the community had perished in a car accident, and he actually gave his full check. So that's the type of community and that's the type of unity I want to bring to Mwanyagetinge if you vote me in.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate that. So it's good to also recognize that Mwanyagetinge didn't just start yesterday. It's been around here for now decades. I think the first, including your dad and those ones who came before him, did a wonderful job trying to lay the foundation for the organization. And over that period of time, obviously there have been successes, and without due respect, there have been failures, which you should expect, particularly when you're dealing with human beings who we are as a people. So perhaps the question to you at this point is, what then, based on all that you know about the organization, what do you bring to the table that's unique from what you already seen in the past?
So for me, I think the most important thing is sustainability. I believe that if we're going to survive the change and the consistent change in the environment that we are in, we need structures in place that will create that sustainability for the future, not only for my generation, but for my children's generation, the generation to come. And so when I look at sustainability, what does that look like? For me, it's about figuring out a way of bringing all of these different demographics that represents Mwanyagetinge together, supporting the small businesses that are within Mwanyagetinge. Because at the end of the day, if we cannot support the small businesses that are within Mwanyagetinge and we take our business elsewhere, we're not building our community. Those small businesses, if they're supported, if you look at successful communities, the Asian community, the white communities, you name it, they support local businesses. They support their own communities' businesses. If we support those businesses, then you know what? They're employing our own people in there. They're creating more jobs. And we're diversifying the community, right? Next time, we'll be talking about having our own bank, our own community center, our own this. Who do you think is going to help us do all of that? If we come together and support each other, we will do it together.
I appreciate that. Very well put. So here's another question. We're talking about Mwanyagetinge, and we don't have the exact statistics of how many of quote unquote our people are within the state of Minnesota and beyond. But going through the Constitution and the members who have registered so far, I see, as of this afternoon, I see less than 300 people. Here's a question for you. What does the absence or the silence of the majority of our people mean relative to what we are doing here?
This is where now we need leadership who will come in and bridge that gap and really address the concerns of the community. We've heard time and time again that we need to see more transparency. We need to see more accountability. We need to see, a united front where somebody's proud to say, I'm Mwanyagetinge. If you ask somebody who's not a part of Mwanyagetinge, the few people, actually the many individuals that I've talked to trying to convince them to register and sign up, the sense is the theme is like, well, I thought that Mwanyagetinge was dead a long time ago. No, it's not dead. We are here. We are doing our best. We are trying to unite our people together. And that lack of trust, we have to make sure that we are building trust where our people can come and say, hey, these people are doing something for us. We need to step up. We need to step in and we need to show our support. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. Right now, people are voting in record numbers that we've seen in the last election. So I'm saying that it's time for a change, and change is coming, and I am the right person to bring in that change, because if you see the record right now, as people are voting, as people are registering, look who they're registering, look who that demographic is, so we need to definitely get the young people to come in and vote and register and learn more about Mwanyagetinge, because a lot of these young people that I'm talking to, they're asking me like, I'm sorry, what is Mwanyagetinge? What is that? So educating our young people about who we are and what we stand for, and actually doing what we say we're going to do. Because at the end of the day, if we don't do what we say we're going to do, we're going to lose a lot of individuals. We have my best guess is 20,000-30,000 Kenyans in Minnesota, or in the nation. I don't know the exact number. But if we can show that we can lead by example and produce results, then we will regain a large number of these individuals. Second point, the reason why I believe that there's a low turnout, not necessarily a low turnout, but a small number, is because if you think about it, we Kenyans, with one foot in America and then another foot in Kenya. What does that mean? We are not 100% investing where we are, and times are changing, and we need to recognize that and understand that our kids are growing up here, they are marrying here, and our investments back in Kenya, some of our kids will never go there. So the most important thing, let's energize this community and really provide the services that shows sustainability for our people. If you look at the Somali community, the one of the key factors why they're succeeding is because in Warabu Wachitega, they came here and they knew this was it for them. So they invested, they put all their energy here, creating their communities, knowing that Somalia is not going to be available for them. This is it for them. And now you can see what they've done. They have somebody in government right now rallying for their benefits. Why can't we have somebody who's fighting for us, especially with the numbers that we have?
And so I appreciate the passion, but I want us to, and I appreciate you talking about the demographics. So a review of the Constitution, and particularly what the CAD committee did recently, I did notice that they took consideration of the geographical aspect of it. So pretty much talking about the representation of the different counties, whether it's Hennepin, whether it's Anoka, Washington County, that's okay. You're looking at that from a geographic perspective. But let's go into the specifics of the demographics. Now, clearly, if you see the number that have been part of Mwanyagetinge, pretty much most of them have been 90 or so percent have been men. But there is a huge percentage that is silent. And quite frankly, when you do deeper analysis of the socioeconomic status of our population, clearly women seem to be doing socially and economically better than the men. But we don't hear them. But it's so nice that today we are having two female candidates here. So what is your take relative? I want you to address directly the women question. What do we do to make sure that the women are on board with what you're aspiring to achieve?
Ansel, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question. First, let me say I'm so proud. I'm so proud to have another woman running for this seat. It's about time we women get a seat at the table. For the longest time, we have been put aside. For the longest time, we have been marginalized. It's time for us women to stand up and say, we too can lead from the front and not from the back. Because at the end of the day, these men that are out here doing amazing things who've led us this far and brought us this far to this point where now we women can stand up and say, we are ready to lead this organization to the next level, is because there were many women behind them, pushing them, supporting them, allowing them to do what they've done to lead us and bring us to this level. So women, I urge every one of you, young or old, together, come, join me, help me win this seat so I can work for you and the rest of the community.
I couldn't say it better enough, and I don't want to be biased as a moderator, but obviously we need the voices of the women in this conversation, and particularly in the voting and the way forward. So let's move further. Of course, we do appreciate those ones who've done their best to build the organization to where it is today. But and I appreciate you taking a moment again talking about the youth who had a discussion with me on Sunday. The future of our organization really is not where we've been or where we are. The future of organization is pretty much on the young people. And I think it saddens me, and I think the majority of our people, that the young, vibrant minds who should be the cornerstone of organization have been very silent. With all due respect, you're fairly young. You're young. Acknowledge that. What are you going to do to make sure that the young people particularly hit to your core, not just hitting to it, but also participating actively to move the organization forward?
So, me, Everybody that knows me knows that I am passionate about young people. Everything that I do, it's to try to empower the young people to grow up to be individuals who are huge contributors to our society. And so for me, creating, to be honest, if you had asked me what I want to achieve, and hopefully you will ask me what I want to achieve if I'm selected as the president, one of the first things that I'll do is to create a role for young people, to have a young person come in, bring in their ideas, bring in their energy, and tell us what change they want to see. I was very saddened, by the way, when I was looking at the different positions that were being that were put out there for people to vie for, that no position was there for young people. My question is, why? Why? If they're the future of organization, and to be quite frank with you, if most of you listened to Dr. Okari's discussion last week with the most brilliant minds we currently have in our community, you would see I'm baffled as to why we didn't have, a seat for young people to come in and really bring their energy and their ideas to help us. Because to be honest, as we get older, we're not keeping up with the changes and the new ideas and the new technology, all of that stuff. We need these young people to come in here and tell us, oh, you're using that old format. Have you tried this? Or they will come in and literally initiate their own change that we bring about, change that we ourselves who are trying to read this organization will say, wow, we are so glad we have our young people. And they have so much to offer. Why are we letting our young people be silenced, be ignored? It's about time to include them in the conversation. It's about time to have them on the table.
Very good. I appreciate that. So here's another question before we move on to the next one under that category of demographics. Now, it's okay to talk about Mwanyagetinge. It sounds more kissy, but we have to be realistic. It's good to be idealistic, but also be realistic at the same time. Recognize that times have changed. And our integration here also means that those ones who are non-Kisses, non-Kenyans, who are actually part of our families. And I'll give you an example. My son is a biracial son. The mom is white, and the dad, me, as black as you can tell. In your next administration, how will you handle those ones who are not Kenyans, but who are friends to Kenyan organization?
That's a personal question, obviously, because my husband is non-Kisii, and also my daughter, although I tell her I know Mogusi, ultimately, she's biracial. And what does that mean? Are they not, supposed to be a part of our community? They are a part of our community. And I think the most important thing we need to understand as a community is the changing times. It's shifting on the mindset of what the changing times are presenting to us, and bring in ideas, come together, sit down on the table, and come to a common ground and find a strategy that will bring a balance, that will really incorporate all these changes that are coming to our community without forgetting our culture. That's very important, because if you ask what binds us together, we are Mwanyagetinge, and so when it comes to non-Kisis, at the end of the day, we are Kenyans. And in order to build our community that is, rapidly changing, we have to acknowledge that and we have to address that.
Fantastic. Very good. Very good said. So here's another question. We'll move on. The next question here. Obviously, if you're going to build a strong future, you have to look to the past. And the past pretty much has been led by men who have dedicated their time to the organization, who have done well, depending on how you look at it. That those ones who say they did a good job, and some will say they didn't do a very good job. Regardless, from my end, I think they did their best to contribute to this. It's unique now. You're a woman, and there's another woman running here. How will you incorporate the past presidents, particularly noting that there are men who are mostly older than you, and some will argue, look, Huldah, thank you, you're very passionate about this, but you're a woman, you are young, you probably don't have enough experience to lead this organization. What do you say to that, and how will you incorporate their thoughts in your leadership?
So let me just start. Let me start with this. Me being young has nothing to do with my ability to lead. If you look at my track record, I've led and I have succeeded in leading. That's number one. Let's clarify that. So age shouldn't have anything to do with my leadership style or my leadership skill set. Number two, when it comes to gender, it's high time that we are recognized as women, that we also have the ability, if not more ability, to lead, because we are able to sympathize with all the different demographics and genders of our Mwanyagetinge. And I want to say, let me talk about specifically in regards to past administrations. I want to personally thank them for what they have done so far. If somebody's saying, oh, they were failure, oh, they were this, you know what? We are still here. How come we are still here? How come I'm running for Mwanyagetinge president if they failed? That means they must have done something good to maintain this organization all the way to the point they have laid the base and the stones for me as a woman and for my other sister who is running for us to run. So why don't we give him why don't we give credit where credit is due? You know, we are talking about the likes of Sheng Nyangito, Kennedy Gesimba, David Bichanga, Jeremiah Moturi, Jofat and Gerald and obviously Geoffrey Gichana. They have done something, whether you like them or you love them or you hated them or you disagree with them. They did something to get us to the point where we are right now, where I'm able to say Mwanyagetinge is alive and we are here and we are ready to move it forward. What they did, what I want to thank him for, is putting up the pillars of Mwanyagetinge. Now it's our time, it's my time, if you choose me to be your president, to put the windows and the doors and the walls to this great organization.
So let's move further, and I think so we understand where we're going forward, we're not going to discuss matters that are really related to the Electoral Commission. They have done their part, and then any questions about the Constitution, quite frankly, I would rather have them deal with that on a separate note. And if need be, we can have them on the show or have you and the other aspirants back later to have a discussion around the Constitution. But there's something that has really come up several times, I think, in the social media platforms, and that's about some care committee members who were in the care committee members and who apparently are now running. Does that concern you? If so, why?
So that is a very tricky question, because I have full confidence in the people we have put in charge of this process. If I didn't have full confidence, then we would have an issue, you know. So if they saw fit for these people to be a part of that and then also run, then that means we either didn't have a process which was clearly communicated, or there's some things that the rest of us, the community, are not aware about. And to be honest, at the end of the day, each individual person who is running, it is my hope that they are running to better our community, not for a personal agenda, not for self-gratification, not for anything that has to do with personal gain. If these people are truly wanting to serve their community, then let them step up and serve the community. But now, the question of whether that is a conflict of interest, let the community decide for themselves on that.
Okay, very good. Okay, next question here, Huldah. Obviously, when you're doing an analysis of an organization, and I think you're an MBA student, you'll understand what we're talking about here. You're doing a strategic SWOT analysis. You obviously have to focus on the positives and the negatives. Obviously, having done an analysis of Mwanyagetinge before you decided to run, there must have been positives, and I appreciate you appreciating the past administrators for whatever the good job they did. But also, a good way to move forward and being objective is to acknowledge some failures. That's very important. Not necessarily you being very specific to failures. Can you identify any failure, and how will your administration improve on those as well?
That's a really good question. Personally, I don't think they're failures. It's about how you look at it. You know, with how Mwanyagetinge has been ran for years, if you look at the work that needs to go into making an organization successful, you know, you ask yourself, did these people have the resources that they needed to succeed? Did these people have the bandwidth? This job is not a joke. I have my own nonprofit, a project initiative that I do. I understand the hard work that goes into it. So if you don't equip your leaders to be successful, don't come back here and say, why did you fail? Ask yourself, what did I do or what could I have done to support them, to help them succeed. We're not, these individuals who stepped up to serve our community, they didn't do it because of, oh yeah, this is just another thing. They truly wanted to serve. The question should be asked, did we equip them? Did we support them to succeed? So that's a question I would say. So if you ask me the areas where, I would like to improve, that I'm going to come in and really improve. Number one is build, I keep on talking about sustainability, is building a sustainable organization. That means we need to build a sustainable structure. Without a solid organizational structure, we cannot implement programming. We cannot go out here and ask for funding. We cannot really move forward until we put the core pillars in place, which is structure, which includes creating processes. A lot of people who are, in corporate America or healthcare field understand what I mean. I mean, when you talk about written down processes, process instructions, and then also manuals to really guide us on what needs to be done. We need to do this task for the business. How do we do it? So if we have a strong structure in place, then we will be able to go out there and say, hey, we need that grant. We can prove that we have structures in place to meet the requirements of that grant, to be able to provide reporting on how we've used that grant, and to be able to report back to the community and say, hey, see our accountability of what we have done with what you have given us. But we cannot sit here and say, oh yeah, we're going to do all of this stuff unless we have a structure in place that supports what we are asking to bring to the community. Secondly, centralization of communication. A lot of the Mwanyagetinge community is really, personally, let me speak personally. It's frustrating when there's different modes of communication where one mode doesn't have all of the members. Another mode has, specifically touches on a certain part of the organization. What I will do is bring in or create a centralized communication channels, whether that is through email, social media, you name it, where communication goes out across all platforms, unified, and people are aware of what's going on. They are up to date on what's going on, where the environment is open for them to openly debate community issues, whatever they are, and really where we can communicate what's going on in our community instead of trying to figure out, okay, now we have half of our community here and half of our community there. And lastly, like I said earlier, the next thing I will do is create a position for the youth, because I think the youth voice is very important. They are the ones who are going to bring the next generation, the next leadership team who's going to come in here. Those youth are the ones who are going to be providing us good ideas to take us to the next level, so creating that position for the youth. And lastly, restoring trust within the community in the form of really investing in our community, in our small businesses, in our youths, in our programming that fosters this community sense. So creating all those programs, again, it comes down to putting down structures that supports what we are trying to put together.
Good. Huldah, somebody listening and watching will almost agree with this assessment. She's smart, she's eloquent, she's to the point, she's bold. That's pretty good. But also note that at some point in history, you're part of the administration. Somebody say, if there are failures, can you pinpoint a time during your time in the office where you try to implement something, if any? What was it and how far did you go in terms towards success?
Yeah, so as many of my listeners would know, I was the secretary of Mwanyagetinge back in 2014. And during that time, actually, I think that was the time that the last time I believe we were very vibrant in really engaging with the community. That's the time that as a leadership team, we were able to bring to Minnesota the Kenyan embassy, and we conducted Kenyan identification card exercise as well as passport renewal and application process. It was the same year we also carried out a diaspora economic forum where we even had Egesa FM come here for the first time on behalf of Mwanyagetinge. And then if a lot of the individuals who were part of Mwanyagetinge back then remember that we would hold events for the youth. We had barbecues, we had sports events, we had all of these things going. And I remember that it was young people who were actually a part of that leadership team. It was me, it was Chewy, it was Wycliffe, it was Lois, it was Asneth. And we were really running that organization the best way we could. Now, if I could say that there were any failures in our leadership, is because we didn't have the support from the community, in the sense that we would reach out to the community and say, please come, Gaki, volunteer for this event, or volunteer to help us with this. Or does anybody know any software that can help us do this efficiently and faster? It was like we were running on a hamster wheel because we didn't have that backing and that support. And when you run somebody to the ground, they burn out. And that's what I want to be very careful about in the next leadership team, whether it is my leadership or the leadership of somebody else, that we support that leadership. Because with the backing of the community and the support and the resources, we can succeed. And then also, we weren't having money coming into the organization. There's a lot of things that we wanted to accomplish, but because of funding, we didn't have that available to us, and we weren't able to accomplish as many things that we would have wanted to accomplish.
Okay. Very good. It reminds me the heydays. I can't tell you enough, Huldah, how much I wish we went back to those good days when we're really inspired. Those times, inspiration to go to school, get to the public places for public use and the likes. I hope we get to that point. But again, take a moment and reflect on what has happened since that time. And some of these questions probably might be controversial to some who are viewing. But again, if you're going to be a leader, you have to face these facts. Some of them could be very brutal. But let's face it. The truth is, over the last decade, what we have seen in Mwanyagetinge has really degenerated into smaller groups, without due respect, into constituencies, into clans, and quite frankly, into some even clans and families. I think we also have Springer groups. The church is pretty much based on relations with the likes. So clearly what we have seen over the last decade is a degeneration of what was really the emperor, the Mwanyagetinge, to smaller groups. And I think that's why the past administration probably had a hard time succeeding. Knowing what you now know in relative to that, how will you try to bring those groups together under the same emperor of Mwanyagetinge?
It really comes down to doing the little things right. For example, communicating with the community, letting them know what's going on, what's happening, updating them on a regular basis. Communication is key, because if you don't communicate, you lose trust. And when you lose trust, then I can't blame, somebody from leaving Mwanyagetinge and going and finding what they need somewhere else. And I believe that is the key thing that we need. Whoever who gets this seat needs to understand and to work towards creating trust by action. Saying what you're going to do and actually doing it, building that trust. Because at the end of the day, like you said, we have all these little silos within the Kenyan community, and all of these different groups cater to a specific need of the community. Why can't it be under one, like you said, under one umbrella? It's because we have lost trust within the community. And that's why I'm here to bring that trust back by doing the little things right, by putting structures down that will support the resources that we want to bring into the community. You can't bring something into the community when you don't have the structure to support it. You just can't do that. So by really going back to the bases and building that base up strong enough to support what we need to bring in, the programming, the resources, the funding, to really then address the needs of these different silos of community, will be key to success for the next leadership.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Good response. I appreciate that. So you mentioned several times about communication. And the best genre of communication we have, particularly knowing that under COVID-19, we don't have much movement, and the fact that we're also transitioning to a new world order, particularly when you talk about the young people communicating through the social media. And quite frankly, all of us now, including what we're doing right now, we're using the social media as a means of communication. Now, let's address specifically on the use of the social media or communication channel. And I think you've seen on the social media platforms. how will you bring decorum into that into those platforms so that at least communication is clear and that the language used there is respectful of all members of the community?
I think it's very important to, and I noted this earlier, in terms of creating a centralized communication channel, and that means that it is a channel that is officially, is utilized to officially communicate the matters of Mwanyagetinge and putting down requirements and rules that govern that those platforms. Because right now, if we look at the different platforms we have, there's no clear outline of what the requirements are. And then on top of that, if there's no clear requirements, then you can't sit here and mandate or take action on when you haven't outlined what the requirements are, what the rules are, and what the consequences are if somebody is outside the scope of those rules. So really creating a cohesive communication channel, which people respect the rules that govern that channel, as well as know that in this forum, we mean business, and that's what it is. And we take action when a rule is broken, on when something is not appropriate, when something inappropriate has been expressed in that forum.
Very good, thank you. So here's a question for you on the same note. Have you done enough research to inform your thinking? Have you gone through other community websites, the social media platforms that will inform what you think is the best model for the social media platforms that to be used for our organization or our community?
So that's a really good question. In terms of specifically, let me start with this. Me, in the position that I am, I run my own project initiative. And so that means I have done enough research to know what works and what does not work. That's number one. And really running for this position, I had to figure out, okay, so if who is doing it the best? What are they doing right? How are they carrying their affairs, and how are they going about, conducting business? And that obviously including social media. Specifically, I haven't, reached out to, let's say, the Somali community or the Ethiopian community or the Asian communities and really see specifically how they utilize social media, to their advantage. But at the end of the day, social media, we all know, can be a powerful tool to really advance the agenda of this community, or it can be a tool that will bring us down. It's a matter of really getting to know what our needs are and how that social media really plays into those needs. And so I would say that I am, I'm all over social media. So I know the advantages of it. It's a matter of putting down, again, like I said, rules and regulations that will really govern that, so that the objectives and the goals of the organization are priority number one.
Good response. So I am just receiving a text message here, Huldah, and one of the listeners and viewers is asking me a question. When we're talking about the demographics, they're saying I did not mention a very critical group of our population. They are asking, can you ask her, you, Huldah, recognize that we have the elderly, our fathers and grandfathers, in our basements today, and then also recognize that as time goes by, the first generation of Kenyans are aging, they're retiring, and pretty much are going to be around here. Have you considered what it would be like having our elderly in our basements or in our apartments? Or is there any thought towards how they should be taken care of in the future?
Oh my goodness. I knew I was going to have an opportunity to talk about our elderly. That is a personal question to me, because those close to my family know that we cared for my grandmother until she passed away. And I will take a quick moment to really thank the community for standing with us, the Kenyan community here in Minnesota and all over the world who stood with us during that time. And going back to this question, which is so important, because again, we have to acknowledge that things are changing. We are bringing our elderly here and they're staying with us, and in most cases until they leave us. So the question is, what are we doing to address their needs? You know, what are we, because I was talking to a Somali friend of mine, and my goodness, they have a vibrant elderly programming where they have yani on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have an event where the elderly can come and gather and talk. Because a lot of our elderly, you know, a lot of us are so busy working, taking care of families, doing all of this stuff. We don't have time to really spend that quality time with them. And to be honest, that's all they need. They don't need anything else, you know. So how can we create an environment that really creates this place for them to feel that they are welcomed, that they have community? Because if an elderly person is just stuck with their families, you know, they're not getting an opportunity to socialize with their counterparts. And to be honest, we can sit here and chat with them, but when the elderly get together, they have a good time. They're reminiscing about the good old days. I remember when my grandmother would visit my uncle's mother, my goodness, I would sit there and listen to them, you know, and I asked her one day, Grandma, you really enjoy visiting with my other grandma? And she goes, this is the time for me to engage and to heal and to express what's going on and to feel alive. You know, so we have to create the environment that really supports them. And again, there's a lot of resources out here. It's a matter of having the strategy and the structure in place to bring those resources in, and then really communicating to our elderly and telling them, hey, we are here, we love you, we support you.
Well, can you do me a favor? Look straight to the camera, and I'm sure there are moms and dads, elders who are watching you. And obviously, I did note in that question that we have the first generation of Kenyans who are now aging. They're retiring and they're home. Can you talk directly to them? Because you really need their blessings. Can you promise of a hopeful future under your administration?
Yes. I want to say to our parents, our grandparents, that we are here. We have not forgotten what you have taught us. We care for you. We have not forgotten about you. Your voice, Nero, it's valued. We want you, Yani, to continue to teach us who we are, what our culture is. So please, Momanyi, during my administration, your voice will be counted as well. We have some elderly citizens amongst us who are very vocal about our community, Mwanyagetinge. Those are the voices that we don't want to go silent, because when those voices go silent, we start to lose who we are and our identity in our culture, who is Mwanyagetinge.
We're coming to almost to the end of this, and I think it will be unfair if I don't ask you this question. If you feel uncomfortable answering this question, Huldah, I will kind of respect the fact that you don't answer. Just free to skip this. It's one thing to articulate as eloquent as you are doing, and I say this with all due respect, and I think those who have been in the office will agree with me. It's easy to talk about this, but once you get to the office, it's a totally different ballgame. That you know. And I think if you listen to the former president's interview yesterday with Egesa, towards the end of his speech, he did acknowledge that it did cost him a lot, not emotionally, psychologically, but it did actually even cost him his family. Here's a question for you. Are you mentally and psychologically prepared for this endeavor?
That is a good, very good and important question. Leadership is never easy. This is not my first rodeo. Running my own project initiative brings its own challenges. But so far, I have been successful because of the support system that I have. And when it comes to Mwanyagetinge, I have to say this. I have a strong family support system. Right now, as you've heard, my daughter was running around here. My mother came and she took her because she knew I had to do this interview. So having that support behind me, first of all, having the support of my family, my husband, most importantly, giving me the blessing, because I can do anything and everything as a woman. But out of respect for my husband, him giving me his blessing, and then my father giving me his blessing to run, I know that I have that mental support that I need. When this job gets heavy, which it will, from obviously how President Dewey had articulated, I have that support system to back me up. When I feel like I'm about to lose my mind, I know that I can come back to that support system and say, pray for me. Baba, nsaberengo. I'm going through this. I have to make this that decision in Saberengo so that I can lead these people and listen to their voice and lead with dignity, with integrity, with honesty, and with respect. And then secondly, I trust and believe in my community, because if I didn't trust in my community that we are able to do this together, I wouldn't have been running. Why have I been involved in Mwanyagetinge all of these years? If you look at my track record, everything I've done ties back to Mwanyagetinge, whether it is in Kenya or whether it is here in Minnesota, it has tied back to this community. That shows you that I do believe down deep in my heart that we are capable of coming together and of supporting one another and of supporting, if I get elected as your president, of supporting me. Because at the end of the day, I can't do this by myself. I know that. I've seen that. I've seen somebody who says, I'm the president, I will do it. No. I refuse to acknowledge that I will do this by myself. And that's why I believe with the support of my family, with the support of the backing of my community, we are going to take this organization to the next level.
Thank you. Huldah, whenever you sleep, what is the one thing, as we come to the close here, what is the one thing you wish we, the Kenyan community here in Minnesota, should have had by now?
Whew. There's a lot of things. I can think about a bank, our own credit union, our own community gym, our own restaurants, whatever. In my time in California, I went to visit my sister who is doing a fellowship at Keck Systems in Los Angeles. She was staying in a community of Asian community. As I was doing my workout and just around the community, my goodness, I was shocked. These people had their own banks, not just one bank, different banks. These people had their own insurance companies. These people had their own churches. These people had their own restaurants, you name it, right there. And a police officer drove by. Do you know what color that police officer was? It was their police officer. An Asian descent police officer. All the billboards you are seeing, it was dedicated to them and their culture and who they are. Why can't we, Mwanyagetinge, have that? We've been here for too long not to have all of these things that other communities have benefited from. We should be ashamed of ourselves, by the way. We've been here way too long for the Somali community to come here and do so much better and have somebody in the government, and we are sitting here saying we are Mwanyagetinge. What do we have to show for it? Sorry, I'm so passionate about this. We should have all of these things other communities have because of our numbers. And because Gakiabagusi and the Kenyan community in general, not even Abagusi, we are hardworking people. My goodness. Some of us have 3 or 4 jobs. Can you imagine if we came together and put some of that energy into a communal goal, what we can accomplish? So anything to me is not just one thing. I would say anything is possible. It's a matter of us coming together and saying enough is enough. It's about time for Mwanyagetinge to actually have a seat at the table. Toko walk into the capital city here in Minneapolis or St. Paul or whatever, any office, and say, we are here. Here's our numbers. We demand this. We don't want to go out there and beg for politicians to help us. We want the politicians to come sit at our table. That's why I'm running. So if you're listening to this and you have not registered, and if you think that Mwanyagetinge is dead, no, it's not dead. I'm here to prove that it's still alive, and we have a long way to go, but I'm here to bring that change. So please register, because we have a long way to go, and together we can build the Mwanyagetinge that we want to see, and not only for me, for our future generation to come.
Okay, good. So on a lighter note here, before you make your closing statement, Huldah, we have to recognize that times of change is COVID-19. Here's a question for you. What do you eat and what keeps you going under the current circumstances?
Let's repeat that again. What I eat?
What do you eat and what keeps you going under the current circumstances of COVID-19?
That's a good question. Injinomo Samaro. So put some ugali on the table, nyama choma on the table, give me some uji, and we are good. So that's what I would say. But in all seriousness, what keeps me going is to know that I have an opportunity, especially during this time as I'm running this campaign, is knowing that I might actually have an opportunity to serve my people. So every day I'm thinking, what am I doing to encourage more people to vote? What am I doing? What new ideas can I bring into this organization that can make us better? Who do I need to talk to learn how I can bring success into this organization? So right now, again, my plate is full, but I find comfort in really, strategizing and getting ready to lead this organization. Because of the support of the community, I will lead this organization. And so with that said, I'm really grateful for this opportunity to really connect with my people. But I am here and I love my people. I'm energetic about this. I'm ready to come in swinging to work for you and to show you that we are capable of change and to show you that we are capable of getting to greater heights.
So I'm going to ask the technical crew to remove me from the screen and focus on you so that you look straight to the camera. I hope, Ben, you hear me. Please remove me. And I want you to speak directly to your potential voters. So you have in mind as you close the female population, the young people, the men, and also to your competitors. Now, here's a chance for you for the next 1 or 2 minutes. Make your closing statement, please.
Absolutely. Mwanyagetinge, I'm here. I have proven that I'm ready to lead you to the next level. All I need is your support and your backing. To my competitors, thank you so much. Thank you so much for stepping up. This is not an easy task. It wasn't an easy decision for you to say, yes, I'm going to step up. I'm going to volunteer and serve my community. So I want to thank you so much for stepping up and your willingness to serve. Now, I want to finish with this. As the new Mwanyagetinge president, I promise you, if you vote me in, I will bring the change that you want to see in Mwanyagetinge. Accountability is a huge thing. And I know that we have, as Mwanyagetinge, we have seen a decline in accountability, transparency. Most of you know that I have, especially those who have been part of Mwanyagetinge, even right now, I'm the current secretary of the COVID-19 task force. I have proven that I am transparent, straightforward, and I'm able to produce when called upon. I have been able to lead this COVID-19 task force with obviously the support of the team and the community at large. We are helping our people. So what am I trying to say? I am here ready to serve you one-on-one. If you give me that opportunity, I have the skill set, I have the tenacity, and I have the time to serve you to take us to the next level. So as you sit here and deliberate on who you want to vote for, think about who do you want to see lead this organization to the next level? Think about what change do you want to see happen and what is the right candidate to bring that change? Me, as you already know, I am passionate about the youths. As a woman, I'm passionate about being a woman and I'm proud of it. And my work speaks for for that. And for men, we value you. We need you. We need your support. We need your backing. You are the pillars of our community and we're here to rally behind you. As your leader, I am here to listen. And lastly, for our elderly, we care about you and we're here to support you and we're here to listen to your voice because without your voice, we will start losing our identity. So please, I beg Mwanyagetinge, as you sleep tonight, think about me and think about what I have presented today and know that I am passionate about Mwanyagetinge and I'm here to serve you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I think there you have it. I think thank you very much for that. I think that will conclude the interview with presidential candidate Huldah Momanyi Hintsley. So again, for viewers, just notify the viewers that the other candidates are watching and they're following. So probably we'll have on Monday. I know Susan Mabera will be on later Monday. We'll send out a flyer on exactly what time. And the other presidential candidates as well will come up sometime next week. We're also hoping that a day before the elections, we are going to have all the presidential candidates come here on show so that they're able to hear their views. And you as well, feel free to send us your thoughts and feedback so that we can put our presidential candidate to task. But important also, I want to thank Huldah. Thank you so very kindly for coming on the line of fire for the first time. I think it's not easy to be the first one online, and I think the viewers have really seen what you have to offer. I appreciate you coming on, and obviously wish you nothing but the very best in the campaign trail. I want to also make a passionate appeal to our community. I think that's important. As I'm not just moderating, but also as a member of this community that I so dearly love, just as you so passionately Huldah said. I call upon the community. Our time is now. We need to forget the difficulties that we've encountered in the past. Let's pull together. Let's write a new chapter in the history of our people. I think whether COVID-19 or the aftermath of George Floyd, I think it should be a moment for us to reflect on who we are individually and who we are and can be as a people. And I think this presents us a wonderful opportunity for us to bring people on board, not just bring on board, but I strongly encourage you, let's bring them on board and give them nothing but the very best of our support. And I believe by so doing, we're going to tap the very best of us, and I think we'll move this organization and community far, far, far much forward better and leave a legacy for our children. That said, again, I'm going to welcome you again on Friday at 7:30 Central Time, because we have on show, as we said and promised here on KDL TV. But part of what we're trying to do here is to drive nothing but a positive diaspora narrative. So on Friday at 7:30, we're having some of our religious leaders, pastors who are coming up at 7:30 to share their thoughts on how we should deal with the COVID-19 and way forward, and hopefully also give a word of prayer and encouragement to the community. So I also want to thank you again for always tuning on to us. Give us your support, your feedback, so that we can improve the conversation and how we move forward. In addition, I want to also thank Ben Goto-Kebwato, who is working tirelessly from behind the scenes to make sure that this broadcast comes to you live. So again, one more time, thank you very kindly for coming on. Huldah, thank you. You did an excellent job. And obviously, we'll talk to you after. And for you all viewing us tonight, thank you very much and have a good night. Talk to you later.